Hello everybody, it's Brandon Michelle, and in this video I'm going to be talking about sports. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about athletes who engage in activism and athletes that express their political opinions during sporting activities. So, athletes expressing their political opinions and engaging in activism is something that's been going on for a very long time. This isn't just something that recently occurred. Back in 1967, we had boxing legend Muhammad Ali. He used his superstar status to speak openly about racism and the Vietnam War. We had in 2016, we had Colin Kaepernick, who he started off sitting on the bench during the national anthem, and then eventually it led to him kneeling during the national anthem. He did this as a way to highlight racial injustice and police brutality against African Americans. And then there are plenty of other examples. Recently, what was I think back in 2020 during the NBA bubble, when we had the instance of George Floyd. You had a lot of NBA players. They didn't necessarily kneel, but I think they didn't. They just weren't. Most people during the national anthem, you're supposed to take off your caps and just pay respect to the national anthem. Well, a lot of the NBA players, they would lock arms and they had the shirts wearing Black Lives Matters. So that was just their way of displaying activism and showing, their support. So there are obviously athletes. Every athlete has the right to express their political opinions and engage in activism during sports. That's not something that I think should be, or anybody should think that it should be taken away from athletes, because it's your right. You should be able to say what you believe in your heart. Everyone should have that luxury. But there are a couple of reasons why I think that is probably not in the best interests of athletes to do this. One reason for this is that this can potentially alienate a lot of the fans who view sports. So sports typically it's an activity to bring people together. You have a bunch of people from different backgrounds engaging in this activity because it's fun. It doesn't matter where you're black. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, you come from here, there, this or that. Nobody cares about that. We've come together to engage in an activity that we find fun. Like as a kid, myself, I played basketball, football. It was very diverse. We had a lot of different backgrounds. Nobody cared. The only thing we cared about was playing the game that we love and winning. So when you have an athlete that speaks on certain political issues or engages in activism during these events, they risk fracturing this unity, and that's what sports is. It's supposed to be a unifying experience, and they risk turning that into a polarizing experience. As you can see, as we saw with what happened with Colin Kaepernick, he started kneeling during the national anthem, and he was supporting police. He was supporting police brutality and all racial inequality and things of that nature. He was trying to raise awareness and support for African Americans, which that's a very commendable thing, and there shouldn't be any pushback against that. But what that did was it sparked a lot of controversy amongst the fans. There were a lot of people that were saying that he and others who participated in this activity, they were disrespecting the country, they were disrespecting the flag, and they just, a lot of people weren't very accepting to this at all. There were even people that were saying, on both sides, people were saying that they would boycott watching NFL games if these players were not penalized. And what I mean by both sides is those who were not in support of Colin Kaepernick were saying that, hey, if the NFL doesn't penalize these players for kneeling during the national anthem, we're not going to watch anymore. And then there were those that were in support of Colin Kaepernick saying, hey, the league, you guys should be doing something to raise more awareness, because what Colin Kaepernick is trying to raise awareness for is a real issue, and you guys aren't doing anything about it. So if you guys don't, then we as well aren't going to watch. And like I said, this just caused it was it was just a lot of tension, between fans, players, owners, everybody. And that's just something that you don't want in sports when this is an activity that we everybody participates in to come together. You know, another reason why I think that athletes shouldn't, express political opinions or engage in activism during sporting events is I don't think the benefits outweigh the consequences. Going back to Colin Kaepernick, he was fighting for what he believed in, and like I said, everyone should respect that. It's a very commendable thing. But when you look at the situation, it's just hard to see anything beneficial that came to specifically him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was raising awareness. Yes, he did raise awareness and shed more light on police brutality and racial inequality. Yes, he did do that. But him and the other athletes that engaged in this activity, they didn't, their, them specifically, they didn't have really any benefits of doing that. Like a recent study done by the Lee School of Business, it said that the career trajectories of the first 50 NFL athletes to kneel, they did a study, and in that study of the first 50 NFL players to kneel, it found that the players who participated were soon after they participated in this activity, they were released. They didn't have a contract. The team either released the player or they let the contract expire and nobody else picked them up. Nobody else gave them another contract. As for Colin Kaepernick specifically, he hasn't played an NFL game since that year ended where he kneeled, and he was never given an opportunity after that, despite him being in incredible shape. And it's not like he was a bad player. Colin Kaepernick was a very good player. He went to a Super Bowl, and he was still in very good shape that year that he kneeled and the years after, and nobody else gave him a shot. We even had Jay-Z had to collaborate with the NFL to allow Colin Kaepernick to get a tryout or a workout just so the NFL teams could give him a chance. And it was reported that he did very well in that workout, and he still wasn't given an opportunity. That just shows like the consequences. And it also didn't help that in 2017, President Trump, he publicly came out and said that NFL players that engaged in kneeling should be fired. So that as well didn't help Colin Kaepernick's or any of the players' case when you have the president saying that these players shouldn't be employed. It's like, how do we go against what the president says? You know what I'm saying? And Colin Kaepernick's not the only one. There's the U.S. women's soccer team, the captain, Megan Rapinoe. She has voiced several different opinions on issues like LGBTQ, and she also kneeled in support of Colin Kaepernick, and she has faced tremendous backlash for this as well. Even LeBron James, LeBron has a lot of different takes on many different political issues and things of that nature, and he's one of the most criticized athletes ever. You remember on CNN, I forgot the lady's name, but she literally came up with a segment that said "shut up and dribble." So that just goes to show you that their penalties weren't, or consequences, it's not as severe as what Colin Kaepernick faced, but it's still this big thing, and so they still face a lot of backlash. You know what I'm saying? So I just, me personally, I just don't see the benefit in engaging in these in the athletes expressing their political opinions or engaging in activism. Overall, athletes, yes, every athlete has the right to express their political opinions and engage in act. They have the platform. They're in that platform for a reason. So yes, they all should be able to express their opinions on whatever they feel like saying at the time. However, I just I don't see the benefit. I don't think it's a good idea because the risk just the risk doesn't outweigh the benefits, in my opinion. And then, like I said, sports is supposed to be a unifying activity specifically for enjoyment and bring people together. And when the athletes express their political opinions or engage in activism, it just it divides people for some reason. So yeah, that's why I just don't think it's a good idea. So yeah, that was my opinion. Thank you.